This is the GeForce RTX 3060 gaming laptop. It has an NVIDIA RTX 3060 GPU, 16 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, and an AMD Ryzen 9 processor.
Okay.
And it was provided by our fantastic sponsor, the one and the only Best Buy. This right here has been my workhorse choice ever since I got it. The build is excellent, the weight is really solid, and I enjoy the aesthetic quite a bit. Not to mention the fantastic specs and the new NVIDIA DLSS software. If you haven't used it yet, the NVIDIA DLSS, or Deep Learning Super Sampling Technology, allows it to tap into a deep learning neural network and use AI to boost frame rates and performance.
Miss me with that bullshit. Until the AI can detect to where I can get those shots every time the AI will shoot for me, I don't want to hear about it. I want an AI aimbot that's built into a laptop. Yeah, like just yeah. Let's get down to what really matters here.
Across the board, as well as graphical increases. This Asus gaming laptop is a champ because NVIDIA GeForce RTX GPUs can utilize DLSS technology and give games a speed and performance boost with uncompromised image quality for the ultimate gaming experience.
That's crazy.
And if you want to use it for yourself, all you need to do is look for the NVIDIA GeForce RTX badge on your device that you can see on screen now to know that it is optimized for DLSS. Truth be told, this laptop right here
they gave me the sticker, but I put it on my refrigerator. Yeah, I got one of these. I put it on my refrigerator.
The strongest one I've ever owned.
Yeah.
This thing is honestly a champ. I play a wide variety of games on it in a wide variety of locations, and it handles all kinds of games.
If the sticker's not on there, it won't work, even if the software is installed. I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, that's what it is. You have to have that sticker on there. It's like a magnet thing.
Very graphically heavy or just very processor heavy super easily because of all of that DLSS tech. And it's also due to the big help of Best Buy, which, if you're somehow not familiar, they are the leading brand in a myriad of tech products, and I shop there like genuinely pretty regularly. They provided me with this Asus gaming laptop, and if you want to check out the laptop, utilize the new NVIDIA DLSS technology, or take a look at all of Best Buy's industry-leading services and products, or perhaps maybe a little bit of all three, you should check out the description and the link down there. Thank you very much, Best Buy, for sponsoring me, and let's go ahead and get started with the video. Hello.
So wait a second, Best Buy sponsored him? Why don't they fucking sponsor me? Like, guys, listen, I've been going to Best Buy for a while. Okay, like I bought like a bunch of stuff there. I've spent like probably like $10,000 at Best Buy over my life. Like probably more than that, 15,000. Like they should pay me. Yeah, like this is a good idea. Did you email them? I don't know. I think they should just they should just know. You know what I mean?
Everybody, my name is Bricky, currently serving at 10 to life for taking eating ass literally. This is the first video of me standing. It may not be the first video I release of me standing, but it is the first video of me now standing for a thing instead of sitting down like normal. We're advancing. We're advancing ourselves now. I welcome you to another program which is called Bricky Mildly Rants about a thing that was on his mind and that you get to deal with. The latest episode.
That sounds like every stream that I do. Literally every single one.
So being on Joel from The Last of Us, a video that you can see here. You see, I don't have any impressions that I'm a particularly potent content creator. By that I mean, I don't think I can formulate my opinions or explanations as well as many others in my field. I don't have the—
Then start, like, bro, like, you can easily do that. You just have to fucking watch your own videos back, write a good script, watch other people's videos on the topic, build off of that. You're never going to be able to do it if you keep saying that you can't do it.
Intelligence of a Dan Olson or a Joseph Anderson, nor do I have the script writing skills of Seth or Racevik. All channels I thoroughly enjoy. I'm working on it, of course. Stagnation in content is a pretty good way to kill a channel, but I don't want to pretend I'm somebody I'm not. Okay. I like the spot I've kind of carved out for myself. Just enough insight to be more than a normal review, and just enough memes to keep people engaged. However, if I do pride myself on one thing, I think I have some pretty okay rants. If Warhammer has taught me—
So then can we get into it? Let's go. I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Anything, it doesn't matter what the subject matter is. If you yell and you scream with enough gusto, enough power in your chest, someone is going to find you extremely persuasive, either as an ally or an enemy. So when I see an opportunity to rant, I plan to take it. Let's talk about the completely objective concept of video game balance, fun, and the interaction between the two.
Okay.
The game is fun.
So when we discuss these concepts, I want to talk about fun. You know, this is going to be a high and mighty video when I'm trying to define fun this early into the video, but fun is obviously not something that's easily defined, and it can mean a lot to different people. Whether it's a satisfying gameplay loop, a sense of accomplishment,
I feel like video games are not— people don't play video games for fun, they play them for fulfillment. And if a video game has fulfillment, then that's really what people are looking for. They're not really looking for fun. Fun is just a way that they get fulfillment, because they're never going to have fun out of something if it's not fulfilling.
That you really enjoy, unlocks, etc. Your fun differs, but I want to go deeper than that. I want to think about the sense of identity that a game or say choices in the game invoke. Say you're playing Overwatch and you main someone like Tracer. The fun, the identity of Tracer is to be a pest, to move extremely fast, be tricky, do a bunch of damage at close range, be hard to hit, dip in and dip out. That's the Tracer identity. In Titanfall 2, the Legion Titan is a gigantic off gun attached to a robot, and the identity of that Titan is and while it may not be the most effective Titan in the game, it's still the feeling you get. This can be brought down to an even simpler level. Guns in COD even have identities. The fun you create is invoked entirely by what you want the tools of the player to do. The problem, exacerbated by multiplayer games specifically, is that in order to invoke a certain feeling of fun, a certain identity, sometimes that will lead to some extremely aggravating cases of poor balance.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
I think everything does need to be balanced. I think that, like, the idea that fun comes before balance is an opinion that people have whenever their class or their mode of gameplay is what's fun because it's better. I very rarely have people that say, oh, wow, fun should come before balance and my class is bad.
I consider myself very good at Overwatch, but I got my way to Masters or whatever because I loved playing Roadhog with his busted hook. That character's identity was on full display as a massive off tank that punished those out of position exceptionally hard so long as I had the proper aim, or whatever you'd refer to as proper aim with Roadhog. Now, I'm not saying his nerf wasn't justified, because it was. So the hitbox was way too problematic overall. It led to a ton less fun on the other side, the other team. But when you decide instead to create Bridget afterwards, which, just maybe you went a little too hard with the identity part of that one when you chose to identify her with the pronouns war and crime. But despite that, creating a good character identity is important as it affects the gameplay loop and lets players gravitate towards things that are not part of their playstyle. This will create, while maybe not balanced games, fun games. However, in the pursuit of balance, sometimes that identity you created will be compromised. I think the nerfs that Roadhog received were justified and didn't really ruin the character. He is still who he is, as they just reined in the jank. But my heart—
Well, I mean, like, it's okay. It's a matter of degree. Like, if something is a little bit better for a while, I think that's okay. But at a certain point, I think that you're not going to have fun playing a game if every single person is playing Roadhog on every single team. And for example, like, if Roadhog is just the de facto best tank, and every single time you see a high-end game, everybody is playing Roadhog, that's not fun for people that like Reinhardt, people that like Zarya, people that like fucking Diva, or any of these other ones. So making things unbalanced in order to, like, create a fun fantasy You have to always remember that there's always the person on the other side of that fantasy who, in a lot of cases, is not having fun. Yeah, Zarya. Yeah, remember Zarya was like fucking insanely good whenever I was playing Overwatch. She was broken. That's why they nerfed her. They nerfed her in 2 different ways. So, is it fun for the other team to queue and to just get farmed by Zarya? Probably not. And is it fun for the other team's tank to feel like I have to play Zarya or I'm setting myself at a competitive disadvantage? Probably not. And whenever you look at the top 500 tanks back then, and like nearly every single one was Zarya, well, you know, like it paints a very interesting picture.
Goes out to the fucking Doomfist fans out there. I don't pretend to know how to play that man or anything, but I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. What have they done to Doomfist? There was a problem with him, with Doomfist, and how he operated in the game, and changing him may have solved that problem, but it gutted his identity in the process. Shit, let's walk down the dark, damp stairs into the olden days of League of Legends.
Okay.
Aurelion Sol was a baller space dragon with an extremely unique kit when he first
Listener of the tanks, make them all DPS. I think that really it's more important to make sure that bad stuff isn't in the game than to have everything in the game and have something that's like super overpowered. Because every single day that something that's really overpowered is in the game, that is more people that are going to stop playing the game. But like both of them are bad because there's also people who like Doomfist is their favorite character and they can't play their favorite character, so they stop playing. Like both of them are bad.
first came out, utilizing rotating stars of various ranges to deal damage. He was a squishy mage that relied on being close, but not too close to your enemy, and finding ways to maintain that distance. It was a super weird concept, but a fun one. Problem was that despite him not being incredible overall, pro players were able to abuse him to such a degree where even though the majority of the population couldn't use him effectively, it made him catch some nerfs. But instead of maintaining that feeling of playing Aurelion Sol, they gave him a massive rework that now makes him feel like just a shell of what he was. The fun that we had with the identity of Aurelion Sol was axed.
One of the goals was to enhance his dragon theme. And what do dragons do? They breathe fire, of course.
I find that more and more games will have balancing problems of some sort, and the balancing pass tends to kill the identity that made it fun in the first place.
That's probably true. That like a lot of times whenever you balance something, the pendulum does probably it does swing too hard sometimes, where like something can be like really high performing and then it gets nerfed and it's garbage.
For example, because I'm still mad about it, the Tyranids in Warhammer, they had an ability revolving around their adaptability. That's like their thing. The ability to adapt to the enemy they're fighting and have it shore up their weaknesses. But because Tyranids were too powerful, they forced you to have it written into your list before you even saw your opponent's army. You know, so you can no longer adapt to your opponent. That's literally the point of Tyranids, and it really wasn't the reason why the faction was crushing people, because they still are, but they lost that fun Tyranid style identity to them. Perfect balance in a game is always something that's desired, but I feel like that it might not actually be a good thing.
I think that really what this video is more about is like the difference between whenever balance removes the identity of a character. Because like the character's identity is imbalanced by the nature of the way that it's designed, and because of that, it gets nerfed. It's really like identity should triumph before balance more than fun.
I want to argue for the opposite. Obviously, removing any major outliers is important. Things that are so game-breaking that need to be hotfixed. But the essence of an unbalanced game, I think, makes it, in a way, more fun, so long as the identity is preserved. For example,
and also so long as the balance passes happen regularly. Like, whenever you have 30 different guns in COD, there's going to be the guns that the main pro players use. Like, that's just the way the games work. However, it's like if it's always like this and then everybody's using it and that's it, that's where the problems come in. So it's about making sure that the balance passes happen regularly so people can switch up what they're using.
Yeah, but let's go back to Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 is one of the best FPS games of all time. It's a gem of a title. It is not balanced in the slightest. And not in the, like, oh, some of the best games of our childhood, Modern Warfare 2, weren't balanced at all. But, like, back then, you can kind of get away with worse balance because times were different. Yeah, Titanfall 2 is not that old, and it is... It is not balanced. Argue to me that this game is balanced, and I'll respond with a Jesus photo speaking the words of Stimcar and Monarch Titan. But if we take, let's say, Big Daddy Scorch, objectively the worst Titan in the game, and yes, you know I'm right, I don't care how much you love him, he's objectively the weakest, he still serves a function. Scorch is area denial and short-range burst damage. It's really hard to get it in, fundamentally, because in a game like this, there'll just be certain maps and scenarios that are very long range, very open, and he just won't get his damage in. But he wasn't changed to suit those means. His kit wasn't adjusted in a way to make up for that weakness. He was given buffs here and there to help him out, but he is still fundamentally Scorch and had a die-hard group of players exactly for that reason. Despite being the worst Titan still in the game, he wasn't worse by a massive margin, and
this is like Doomfist in Overwatch 2. I don't know how many fucking people... I've seen a lot of people play Doomfist, and it's like Doomfist, the way that he plays is very different than the way a lot of the other tanks play. And if you like the gameplay of Doomfist, you're going to want to play Doomfist, and that's it. So I think that's a good thing.
He was still incredibly fun, and he maintained his identity without having to massively rework the character, the Titan, whatever. How about another option? A metagame.
It's the same as like Bastion, for example, in Overwatch. Or, you know, he used a really good example, which was Tracer. Tracer is... It doesn't matter how good or bad Tracer is. That gameplay style, people will like playing the gameplay style. Or like, yeah, Torbjorn or something like that.
Can be created entirely due to the aspect of imbalance. Top tier weapons or characters reign supreme, which can change the landscape of the game itself. This leads to unintended side effects, like certain weapons or characters that normally weren't that good finding a place because they are a counterpick against that OP thing. Yeah. My favorite gun in Destiny 2 is Malfeasance. It's a gorgeous hand cannon with a trait where 5 consecutive shots will detonate 5 explosives attached to them. Now, this naturally makes it pretty good for some PvE scenarios, but pretty bad for PvP, where enemies tend to die far before those 5 shots. However, Warlocks use their ability called a Rift to give them a little bit of extra damage or healing, and they would put on this fancy helmet called the Stag. The Stag would make them significantly tankier in that Rift and allow them to take fights that were overall just, they really should not have taken those fights. They would have died much easier. I found a place for Malfeasance dealing with those Stag Warlocks. The meta evolved further where tons of overshields utilized by Titans were prevalent. Malfeasance.
Oh, this is a good point, because like what a good example of this in WoW is Demon Hunters. If you're a Demon Hunter, anybody who's a Demon Hunter can get 1800 rating in Arena. But simultaneously, almost nobody can get 2800 in Arena, because Demon Hunters were really fucking good at like mid-range combat, like mid-MMR gameplay, but like really, really high-end players were not able to like really, utilize them in the same way. They didn't scale as much. And I think that's, it's always hard to balance something. And I think that, like, again, with Overwatch, it's like, how do you balance something like Widowmaker, for example? A sniper that can, has a lot of movement, and she can kill a target with 1 hit. How can you balance something like that to where it's fun to play for people that are bronze, and it's also fun to play for people who are Grandmaster? It's like impossible. And it's like I never see people, whenever I was playing in bronze, I never saw anybody play Widowmaker. But like whenever I watch higher end games, you see them all the time. So it's always hard to like know where the balance mark should be. Should it be something that's really good at low levels or something really good at high levels? Because I think it's bad, really, if the balance mark is one or the other. It kind of has to be both, and that just makes it really hard to balance. That's just the truth. It's really hard to balance it to where, it's easy to play and good for noobs, but at the same time, it's fun for serious players.
was an excellent choice against them, who would get overly greedy and then find themselves insta-gibbed by the explosions. Tons of roaming supers making their way into the game. I use it to deal with them from range. Build crafting, both in co-op and competitive games, can wildly change due to imbalance, and that keeps the game feeling fresh and promoting discussion. They say that all press is good press, and when there is a rallying hatred for something overpowered in a game, or at least discussion around it, the game is firmly in people's minds. Hell, memes are
I am not an advocate of a game being bad and everybody talking about it being bad being a positive for the game. I do not believe this. I don't think this was true for New World, and people still think New World has problems that the game hasn't had for 6 months. I think this has been a problem for WoW. It's a problem for PoE as well. It's like they said, oh, well, you don't get loot anymore in the game. Well, they changed that. And like, yeah, it might not be as good as it was, but some of the changes to loot were good decisions. So it's like whenever people are talking about a game and being negative about it, I don't think that this is a good thing always. And I think that in many cases, it's not a good thing because people get an impression of the game, and that impression and that first impression and people just talking about it makes other people less likely to try it out.
Created regarding that imbalance, which keeps people talking. If everything's the same and perfect balance is achieved, I think it just ends up being a bit boring to think about. Malfeasance is a pretty mediocre PvP pick, but it has its place and it has its identity.
I feel like that argument kind of falls apart whenever you have something that has had relatively the same balance for a long time. Something like, I mean, obviously chess is the best example of this, but even CSGO, right? I mean, there are games that are very well balanced and people play them even now. And it's like people keep developing different metas, etc.
For that, I love it more than any other meta weapon. Same reason why I love like Cerberus +1, because in a crazy hectic gunfight, yeah, your time to kill might be something specific, but that's a perfect time to kill. What if you're missing shots? I got too many barrels. I'm not going to miss my shots. Now, despite all of this, limits should obviously be put in place. There are dials that can be tweaked with all values in games, and they should be if it helps achieve a better semblance of balance overall, so long as they don't step on the toes of what made it fun in the first place.
Now, I think that's a really good point. Like, whenever balance comes in, and this is what I think he's really talking about in this video, is whenever balance removes identity. It's like this character is no longer fun for the same reasons or fun at all, because in order to make this game fun or this character fun, it's just got to be imbalanced. Talking about homogenization. Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure right now in your mind, right, you could think of a time in insert game here where the thing you loved had to get nerfed or buffed in some way that ruined why you loved it. My poor Stockholm Syndrome League of Legends fans can think of many a reworked champions that probably go into this list. And hey, if you want to tell me about some of them, please, you know, put it down there, you know. I know this has been sort of like a poorly formulated topic, but I worry that people online push changes quicker than should be made. Yet no game developer in the history of—
I disagree with that. I think that it's important to have a change happen as soon as possible, because every single day that somebody is playing the game and there's something that's massively broken in the game is a day that a lot of people are going to stop playing it. Because like they're like, well, fuck this game sucks. I don't want to play this game anymore because it's bad. Like, obviously, it depends on like where the degrees are. But I think that there are like these like high, like these like high outliers, like really, really bad circumstances of balance, that they should just immediately fix them as soon as possible. And the sooner it's fixed, the better.
Working has ever said, yeah, guys, I think we should definitely make our game less fun so it can be more balanced. Nobody ever says that. Everyone who makes games know that the fun is number one. But I can imagine—
I actually think that fun and balance are many times the same thing. So like, for example, like ice cream and steak, you probably think both of these foods are great. You know, many people like both ice cream and steak. Now, would you make a decision to play ice cream or to eat ice cream or steak in the exact same circumstance? No, most of the time people go and they choose that they want to eat ice cream or steak, right? For different circumstances. So really, making it to where different things are balanced in different ways doesn't mean that they're all the same. But if there's one thing that's better for all circumstances, or most circumstances, then it becomes not fun because the entire design of the game and the entire way that people play the game is built around one thing. And I'll give you guys an example. Like in Elden Ring, we were going to do an Elden Ring PvP tournament. And whenever we were going to do this, we decided that we were going to ban a lot of the like really overperforming weapons. And some people were saying like, oh, that's not fair. You know, let people have fun. And what I said to this is that this is not fun. Because if you have these weapons in the game, anybody who wants to win will use these weapons. And it's not fun to go into it, a game that has over 300 weapons, and only 7 of them are viable. Like, it just sucks. So that's what I think the problem is here. Is that, like, whenever you have something that is so imbalanced, or a meta is so defined that anybody not playing inside of that meta is just handicapping themselves. Like, you don't want to have people that play something that handicaps themselves. And I think that in that case, fun is balance. Because nobody has fun going in there getting crushed whenever they just don't have a chance. It's not enjoyable to play.
Mentioned sometimes when the online discourse is just fervent, when every tweet is hit with a nerf X instantaneously, level heads might weaken, and a quick fix is implemented just to get those.
We're talking about Sombra. Here's the problem with Sombra, is that the class fantasy of Sombra isn't fun to play against. Like, regardless of whatever you want to say, like, you know, oh, well, personally, I don't find it fun to have to constantly worry about a character that is invisible that will make it to where I can't hit my buttons. It's not fun to play against that character. So I think that this is an example of, you know, I wish they'd take her out of the game. Like, or just completely redesign her. I don't like her at all.
People to shut up. I don't think they know that's what's happening, but I know I've been subconsciously swayed by idiots on the internet before. You are not immune to propaganda. I just have been like thinking about all the past League reworks when I used to play. Look at all those that landed and all those that didn't. It made me realize that almost all the games I play or used to play are pretty unbalanced. Like Destiny, League, Overwatch, Titanfall, Dead by Daylight, For Honor. Like my whole retinue of titles struggled with balance ton. Some kept their identity and some didn't. And figuring out the differences is really fun. Okay, so I'm sorry. I got on Fortnite a bit ago. Someone told me about the no build and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And it was actually pretty good. Yeah, I was kind of surprised at how decent no build was. But there was the Dragon Ball. Oh God, how does that one guy say it? That like Dragon Ball Kamehameha thing was so ludicrously unbalanced. It was nearly an insta kill and it's just so dumb. But I remember it being just an absolute blast with how stupid and fun it was that I kind of didn't really care. In a weird way, like having a boogeyman is almost fun. A character.
Well, it's also because you don't start the game. Like my understanding of the Goku character in Fortnite, you don't start the game and choose to play Goku, can you? Where like you can just fly around. Because if it's like Thanos, random people are selected to be Goku. It's an item. Yeah, you loot an item. Capsules drop randomly. Well, sorry, you can play as Goku, but you can't play as the abilities that Goku has. Like, you can't fly around, you can't use Kamehameha, you can't use any of this shit just by selecting something as a skin on the screen as you are beginning the game. That is totally fucking different. Because, yes, obviously, it turns into a Juggernaut situation, where it's like somebody gets the overshield in Halo, well, guess what? They're going to be able to do a lot more damage. Of course that's the case. But it's very different. Like, for example, if everybody was able to go and queue in and play Fortnite as Goku with all of his abilities, and you could select, do you want to play as Goku or a regular player? Bro, there'd just be 100 Gokus. That's all there is. And all the other, everything else would be done. Like, there'd be nothing else to do in a game. Like, you're not going to open chests. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to play as him. So that's what the problem is. Like, and yeah, they could make a mode where everybody can do that. That'd be kind of cool, right? But like, it kind of takes the enjoyment away from every other gun. Like, what about people that like using an assault rifle or a pistol or a shotgun? Well, it doesn't fucking matter because you just got smashed with a giant blue beam and you're dead.
A gun in a game that everyone can kind of rally against and hate on. I mean, it's not good when they just hate it on the person who's using it, but it can feel sometimes kind of nice to have that like connective glue in the community.
Well, it's like the sniper rifle in Halo. Everybody that starts the game has an equal chance to get the sniper rifle. Generally, like based off of spawn. Obviously, like there's a little bit of nuance to this, but you know, the game goes on for a while. So yeah.
Like For Honor, I think about like Orochi, the little weeaboo samurai guy, and the stigma that went with him, and it was just kind of fun in a weird way. I don't know. It was enjoyable. Hell,
see, I mean, like I could use the example of like Elden Ring with like the Rivers of Blood and what's it called? Rivers of Blood and the Moonveil Katana. They were so good that if you queued into somebody that was using these weapons, you would lose 9 out of 10 times. This is not something that I look back on fondly. Because it's like, you either play this, or you lose. That's not fun at all.
I mean, Mass Effect, right? Mass Effect 3 even found a way to fix this without literally adjusting anything. In the third game's multiplayer, there were absolutely maps and enemies that were best for farming credits. Firebase Glacier was really small, and the Geth were the easiest of the enemies. It was really easy to just load up Geth, load up Firebase Glacier, and speed run through it. But instead of saying like buffing the Geth or changing the Firebase Glacier map, they just gave you incentives to go random. You got extra experience if you chose random map and extra experience if you chose random enemy. Why make these massive changes to all that stuff when you can just say, hey, just don't pick them. Pick random.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It's like whenever you have something like a farming method that people use to make something that's really monotonous go faster, and then you get rid of the farming method for it, and then the monotonous thing is just not fun to do because people were looking for this exploit because they didn't want to do it.
Give you more stuff for it. Sometimes just incentivizing people to use other things is all you need to help adjust the metagame. Even if the metagame is Mass Effect 3's multiplayer economy. There are die-hard players in tons of different kinds of games that are entirely focused on playing the fun, mediocre pick. And if you try too hard to make that fun, mediocre pick something it's not, you might make a more balanced game, but you make a less interesting one. And some of the best games out there are not balanced at all. And as far as I'm concerned, a massive emphasis on sticking to an identity first and foremost is more important than any level of balance you can achieve in the game.
Yeah, identity is what this is really about. It's not about fun, it's about character identity. Like a Death Knight should play a certain way. Death Knight should not be able to teleport around. Death Knight should be walking death machines, and if you get near them, they kill you. Meanwhile, mages should be able to run away and kite you. Mages shouldn't be able to just sit there and tank all of your damage with Triune Ward. Even if it's more balanced.
Thank you everyone for watching this video. I know it's a bit of a random one, but I just wanted to regurgitate my thoughts.
That's what I think about it.
Ether and discuss this kind of stuff. Also, I hope the new setup, me standing up, isn't too bad overall. I mean, hopefully it's all right, but you know,
I think standing up for videos is probably a good idea because it makes it to where you're more expressive with your body. You're just naturally more like that. So it's probably a good idea for him to talk about something that is, you know, especially like more. I don't know, like more nuanced or whatever, like an opinion-based video. Standing up for it is a better idea.
We're still working out the kinks in it, you know.
I'm gonna link you guys a video.
Light stuff here and there.
Pretty
good. And a quick question from Mega, talking about all the different kinds of Audible sponsorships and, you know, audiobooks and books I've read. And they asked me, what book is my numero uno? What's my favorite book of all time? You know, I think I'd have to go with the Night Lords trilogy. Yeah, I think they took my spot as my favorite books of all time. But if you were going for a non-Warhammer book, I'd say probably Misery The Stephen King novel about the artists and everything. Well, they're always some kind of art. You know what I mean? The one, you've probably seen the movie, maybe here and there. Misery's really good. Ooh, The Stand, also Stephen King. The Stand is incredible. They always try to make a TV series out of that, and it's always awful. So one day they'll make a good one, but The Stand, Misery, and that Night Lords trilogy, best books. Thank you all for watching so much. I will see you for some more videos throughout the holidays. Bye-bye.
Come on. That was a nice video. That was a good one. All right. Not too bad. I don't really read a lot. I don't really like read a lot of books. I feel like when was the last time I read a book? Probably like 10 years ago. Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, when did I ever really seriously read a book? Let's see here. Let me link it for you guys one more time. Make sure to give him a like. This is a good video. I hope he makes more like this. Let's see here. I got sponsored by that. Yeah, he got sponsored by fucking Best Buy. That's nuts, man. Holy shit. Okay, let's go back over here. I had to use the bathroom, so I'll put on a video for you guys to watch, and then I'll be back in a minute, okay?
What's up, boys? Today I want to talk to you a little bit about Dragonflight and give my first impressions on the expansion. Okay. I've been playing it now for the past 2 or 3 days, ever since it's been released to the public and it's out of NDA, and I've enjoyed it overall, and I wanted to talk about